Hello everyone, welcome to our channel. In this episode, we will introduce a Japanese prophetic manga called The Future I Saw. This book was published in 1997, but since its release, it has not gained much attention. It was only after the 3/11 earthquake that the Japanese people discovered that the cover of this book had already predicted a major disaster in March 2011. Not only the cover, but flipping through the manga, you could even see scenes of a tsunami. All of this coincided remarkably with the events of 3/11. At one point, the manga received a lot of attention. Soon, someone claiming to be Tatsuki Ryo set up a website and kept publishing prophecies on it. In 2021, the real Tatsuki Ryo suddenly contacted the publishing house and provided evidence related to publishing taxes and other documents to prove that the Tatsuki Ryo on the website was fake. The real Tatsuki Ryo turned out to be an elderly woman in her 70s. And the reason she had to come forward to debunk the rumors was not only to prevent imposters from continuing to spread falsehoods in her name. Most importantly, she also has an important prophecy about the year 2025 to share with everyone. It turns out that the tsunami depicted in the first edition of the manga from 1997 was not triggered by the 3/11 earthquake but was meant to occur in the disaster of this year. Regarding this, we will reveal more unknown details later on. So why did she write about a major disaster in March 2011 on the cover? Tatsuki Ryo said that she had already completed all the content of the manga at that time. Just before the deadline, she was working on drawing the cover of the manga. The woman depicted in the image was her self-portrait. Around her floated several sheets of white paper, each recording her dreams. However, one sheet of paper remained blank, and she was constantly pondering what to draw on it. Then, that night she had a dream. In the dream, she found herself in a movie theater lobby. Soon, a line of text appeared on the snowy white screen. 2011, a major disaster will occur in March. Although she didn't know what would happen that day, she had a strong intuition that this was a very important message, so she decided to put this line of text on the cover. That's why this sheet of paper only had text on it. Because she did not see a disaster scene at that moment. So the question arises, if the tsunami in the manga is not related to 3/11, then what is it about? In the 2021 complete edition, Tatsuki Ryo provided the latest prophecy. After the first edition of the manga was published, Tatsuki Ryo had two more prophetic dreams. According to the information in these dreams, in July 2025, significant events will occur in Japan, Taiwan, Hong Kong, and the Philippines. She even described specific details of what would happen on that day. In today's episode, we will not only delve into this manga but also reveal many pieces of information from the book that we have not discussed before, including what will happen on that day in July 2025 and when the disaster will occur. Why do many Japanese netizens believe that Taiwan is the center of this disaster? Why did Tatsuki Ryo urge everyone to hurry and escape in this manga? Should we be concerned about this? Please watch this video until the end today, because at the end of the video, I will share my thoughts with you, which I believe will help you think about this matter in a new way. Today, let's talk about the most important prophecy for 2025. On December 2, 1954, Tatsuki Ryo was born in Kanagawa Prefecture, Japan. She is now 71 years old. She has published multiple manga works, with one of the most familiar ones being the 1999 publication of The Future I See. It is worth noting that Tatsuki Ryo is not the author's real name but rather her pen name. According to the author's own statement, she never revealed her real name because she knew from the beginning that she would not be a manga artist for her entire life. To avoid disruptions in her life, she chose not to disclose her real name. It wasn't until 2021 that Tatsuki Ryo, in the complete edition she published, rarely included a photo of herself at the age of 29. In this book, Tatsuki Ryo openly admits that she doesn't have a paranormal constitution, nor does she communicate with spirits. However, for reasons unknown to her, she always dreams about future events related to herself. This incident dates back to when she was 9 years old. That year, due to moving houses, Tatsuki Ryo became a transfer student and experienced exclusion from her classmates, which made her dislike attending school. One day, she suddenly began to ponder, why am I me? Why was I born on Earth? Why am I in this body? Yes, why must I be confined within this body? Following this line of thought, Tatsuki Ryo attempted to project her consciousness out of her body and ascended into the universe. She felt incredibly small at this moment, and as she carefully examined her body, she suddenly sensed that someone else besides herself was watching her. Curious, she looked up and saw an elderly person dressed in a long robe, looking very gentle and amiable. At that moment, Tatsuki Ryo suddenly felt a sense of returning home. Tears kept falling uncontrollably, and she even believed that the elderly person was the creator. If you carefully look at the cover of the manga, you will notice a pair of hands, and the owner of these hands appears to be wearing a white robe. Could it be that Tatsuki Ryo is hinting that her prophetic dreams are messages from the creator? According to Tatsuki Ryo, after encountering the creator, she often dreamed of scenes depicting tsunamis. However, because she had not yet developed the habit of recording her dreams at that time, she did not include other tsunami scenes in her manga. It was not until 1985 that Tatsuki Ryo began recording her dreams in a diary given to her by her mother. She started recording her dreams not because she knew they were precognitive. In fact, she did not believe her dreams would come true at that time. She recorded her dreams because she enjoyed analyzing them, until the following event occurred. On August 27, 1989, Tatsuki Ryo had a strange dream where she found herself in a cave filled with seawater, accompanied by an unfamiliar woman who seemed to be speaking. Due to the continuous crashing of waves nearby, Tatsuki Ryo couldn't hear what the woman was saying. She dreamt this scenario multiple times, prompting her to begin analyzing her dreams. The book mentioned that the cave symbolized a connection to the spirit world but could also represent the unconscious. The unfamiliar woman might symbolize another personality of Tatsuki Ryo. However, this speculation changed a year later. That day, Tatsuki Ryo, who had already become a manga artist, decided to go out for a walk to seek inspiration. In order to find inspiration, she specifically chose a place she had never been to. During this outing, she unexpectedly stumbled upon the cave that had been recurring in her dreams. In that moment, Tatsuki Ryo immediately took out her camera and captured photos of the cave, intending to compare them with her dream diary, once the photos were developed. However, what Tatsuki Ryo did not expect was that on the same day the photos were developed, she actually saw on the news that fishermen had discovered a female corpse in the same cave, and the features and clothes of the deceased woman were identical to the woman in her dreams. In other words, what Tatsuki Ryo dreamed of actually happened. Tatsuki Ryo was deeply shocked by this revelation, but what surprised her even more was that this was not the first time she had dreamt about the future. In November 1976, Tatsuki Ryo dreamt that she was with her friend Y, watching the news about the passing of Freddie Mercury, the lead singer of the band Queen. In the dream, her friend Y was crying inconsolably, and then she abruptly woke up from the dream. At that moment, she remembered someone had mentioned that if you dream of something bad, you should quickly speak about it to prevent it from coming true. Therefore, she immediately shared this dream with many friends. Indeed, Freddie continued to live well afterwards. However, 10 years later, on November 24, 1991, the news suddenly announced Freddie's passing. At that moment, Tatsuki Ryo had a sense of déjà vu. A few days later, she specifically went back to check her dream diary and astonishingly discovered that 10 years ago, on November 24, she had dreamt of seeing the news of Freddie's passing on TV. The date she had the dream was the same day Freddie passed away. Moreover, she had dreamt of Freddie not just once. Additionally, on November 28, 1986, Tatsuki Ryo dreamt of Queen performing on stage. What puzzled her was that during that performance, she didn't see Freddy, and the bronze statue displayed nearby didn't resemble him either. As she revisited the dream, she suddenly realized that this dream had occurred 5 years earlier on November 28th, the same day she recalled the event. It was at this moment that she finally realized not only had she experienced precognitive dreams, but also that these dreams were related to people and things important to her, or events she would be involved in. For example, the precognitive dream about the cave corpse. Later she visited the scene, and she saw the news of Freddy's passing on TV. In other words, Tatsuki Ryo was unable to dream about the world of the future 100 years from now. She could only dream about people and things that intersected with her life while she was alive. Such dreams had once made her feel uneasy, especially when she dreamt of scenes related to death. On January 2, 1995, Tatsuki Ryo dreamt of 2 massive cracks in the ground. At that time, she briefly believed this dream was a premonition of her impending death. Because in the dream, besides seeing the cracks on the ground, she also saw an angel. She said to the angel, "Take me with you." However, the angel told her, "Not now, I will come to take you in 5 years. Not only that, in the same year, she dreamt of her own funeral and even saw that the date of her funeral was July 15th. Therefore, she had always believed that she would pass away on July 15th, 2000. Little did she know that this dream was not predicting her time of death. Just 15 days after dreaming of the ground splitting open, on January 17, 1995, the Great Hanshin earthquake occurred. This earthquake reached a magnitude of 7.3 on the Richter scale and, due to its shallow depth of 17.6 kilometers, resulted in severe devastation. It caused a tragic loss of over 6,000 lives, with approximately 250,000 buildings collapsing. When Tatsuki Ryo saw the news footage at that time, she was extremely shocked because the scene closely resembled what she had dreamt 15 days earlier. In that moment, she realized that this dream was not about her own death but about the impending disaster. In addition to the Great Hanshin earthquake, in 1992, Tatsuki Ryo dreamt of her self-portrait alongside a photo of a woman named Diana. 5 years after dreaming of the photo, Diana tragically passed away. Therefore, some netizens believe that the realization of Tatsuki Ryo's precognitive dreams occurs at multiples of 5 after she dreams them. For example, in 1976, she dreamt of Freddy's passing, which came true 15 years later. On January 2, 1995, she dreamt of cracks in the ground, and 15 days later, the Great Hanshin earthquake occurred. In 1992, she saw a photo of Diana, and 5 years later, Diana passed away. However, this is not absolute because sometimes Tatsuki Ryo directly sees the time of the realization of her precognitive dreams within the dream itself. For example, when she was about to publish a book, she dreamt of March 2011 major disaster. Another example is when she saw that a major disaster would occur in July 2025, and she believed that this day would be her true time of death. At the end of the 20th century, the whole world was focused on the prophecies of the well-known prophet Nostradamus. The prophecy mentioned that in July 1999, the King of Terror would descend from the sky. Many people believed that this statement was predicting a catastrophic disaster in July 1997. As a result, media outlets around the world began discussing the possibility of doomsday. This also included a program on Japanese media. They also specifically introduced the well-known Indian saint, Sathya Sai Baba. Tatsuki Ryo was very surprised when she saw the program at that time because she had seen this mysterious figure several times in her dreams, but she had never known who he was. So she immediately went to investigate Sathya Sai Baba. To her surprise, she found that the palm print on Sathya Sai Baba's right hand looked very similar to the palm print on her left hand. This coincidence was too remarkable for her to ignore. Consequently, Tatsuki Ryo later decided to personally go to India to meet Sathya Sai Baba. However, What she never expected was that this journey would unexpectedly awaken her memories of past lives. When she traveled all the way to India and met Sathya Sai Baba, at that moment, a flood of unfamiliar yet familiar images suddenly rushed into her mind. It turned out that in their past lives, she and Sathya Sai Baba lived as a father and daughter in 19th century England. As Tatsuki Ryo regained her memories, Sathya Sai Baba even communicated to her through telepathy, saying, "I know." Perhaps due to the restoration of her past life memories, during this journey, Tatsuki Ryo also had a very terrifying dream. In her dream, she found herself hovering over the earth above the Pacific Ocean in a satellite-like view. Suddenly, she noticed bubbles continuously emerging in the sea between Japan and the Philippines, as if something was tearing the earth apart. She had this terrifying dream twice. The second time revealed more details. Two dragon-like entities moved from east to west, followed by an explosion sound from the seabed. A tsunami larger than the one in 2011 surged towards Japan, causing 1/3 to 1/4 of the country to be submerged. Tatsuki Ryo not only predicted Japan but also mentioned that regions around the Pacific Ocean would be hit by the tsunami. However, the most astonishing part came after the waters receded. After the waters receded, Tatsuki Ryo saw new land emerging between Hong Kong, Taiwan, and the Philippines, connecting these regions. The key point is that this time she saw the dream realization date as July 2025, but the specific day was not shown. This scene was too horrifying, causing Tatsuki Ryo to wake up abruptly from the dream. At that moment, she checked the time and it was 4:18 a.m. on July 5, 2021. Therefore, Tatsuki Ryo believed that this precognitive dream would come true on July 5, 2025. Netizens even went further to speculate that the disaster might occur at 4:18 a.m. on that same day because Tatsuki Ryo woke up at that time. Many people currently believe that the disaster foreseen by Tatsuki Ryo is likely caused by natural factors. For example, a catastrophic event like a submarine volcanic eruption triggering intense tectonic movements, ultimately leading to the disaster. However, if one carefully reads her writings, they will find that Tatsuki Ryo actually mentioned that the disaster could likely be caused by submarine volcanoes but could also be due to a bomb. In fact, she leans more towards the disaster being caused by human error, which is why she refers to the 2011 event as a major calamity, and terms the one in 2025 as a major disaster. From her perspective, calamities are caused by natural disasters, while disasters might result from human actions. But is this really possible? What kind of human factor could result in such a massive disaster? I couldn't find any information on this. In the year 1965, on the U.S. Navy aircraft carrier USS Ticonderoga, there was an A-4E Skyhawk attack aircraft that accidentally fell into the sea while preparing to slide into the No. 2 elevator during training, and it has not been found to this day. The crucial point is that this aircraft was carrying a B-43 hydrogen bomb. Therefore, many netizens currently speculate whether this hydrogen bomb could have caused the disaster. According to information, the explosive yield of the B-43 hydrogen bomb ranges between 70,000 and 1 million tons of TNT equivalent. Converted, this is equivalent to 66 times the atomic bomb dropped on Hiroshima. However, the suspected location of this hydrogen bomb's submersion is at a distance from the seabed rupture location seen by Tatsuki Ryo. Therefore, it is uncertain whether the hydrogen bomb is the cause of the trouble. However, these events have raised concerns among Japanese netizens because, according to Tatsuki Ryo, after her journey to India, she believed that the tsunami she dreamed about years ago would occur in this disaster. So, what exactly will happen on July 5, 2025, as seen in Tatsuki Ryo's dream? In 1981, on a certain day, Tatsuki Ryo had a very eerie dream. She dreamt of a year when the climate in Japan was unusually cold for almost the entire year, and starting from a certain month, small earthquakes occurred frequently throughout Japan. Then, on a specific day, the seawater rapidly receded. Before people could react, a massive roar accompanied by a tsunami rushed towards the streets, causing panic. People screamed and fled in all directions, plunging the entire city into extreme chaos. In the midst of this fear and despair, Tatsuki Ryo woke up from the dream. However, she didn't truly awaken. It was a dream within a dream. After waking from the previous dream, Tatsuki Ryo checked the time, which was around 5 o'clock. At this moment, she couldn't determine if it was a dream or reality. Tatsuki Ryo's dream diary contains more detailed information about this part. In her actual dream diary, she mentioned that after the tsunami appeared, she was extremely terrified and even briefly mentioned Hades as the king of the European mythological underworld. Shortly after, Tatsuki Ryo lost consciousness. When she regained consciousness, she woke up in a room submerged in water, indicating that the disaster had already occurred. When she checked the time, she noticed that the watch seemed to have stopped ticking. Could the disaster have caused her watch to malfunction? Because the time on the watch is close to the time when Tatsuki Ryo woke up from a dream about a disaster in the Pacific Ocean 40 years later, perhaps due to the confusion between reality and dream, Tatsuki Ryo is feeling very puzzled. Later, Tatsuki Ryo left the house and went outside, where she noticed that there were no people or vehicles on the road. She walked aimlessly and then saw a very tall overpass. Unconsciously, she walked towards the overpass. During the process, she observed that the stores along the roadside seemed different, as if they had experienced some disaster. Afterwards, Tatsuki Ryo entered a clothing store and discovered a pile of old, yellowed clothes being sold, which further puzzled her. At this moment, the scene suddenly shifts, and Tatsuki Ryo has already climbed onto the overpass she saw earlier, where she sees a vast expanse of water, surrounded by thick fog, as if everything in this world had been engulfed except for what was right in front of her. Currently, many Japanese people speculate that Tatsuki Ryo at this moment may have already passed away because after the Great Tsunami, Tatsuki Ryo mentioned Hades, who is the king of the underworld, controlling the world after death. Therefore, from this point onwards, what Tatsuki Ryo describes should be scenes from the afterlife, and the tall overpass is likely the path to the afterlife. After climbing onto the overpass, Tatsuki Ryo's sighting of a vast expanse of water could possibly be the river Styx. In Japanese folklore, it is believed that the Sanzu River is the river that leads people to the underworld after death. At this point, there is the cloth-taking hag, who specifically takes away the clothes of the deceased. These clothes are hung on tree branches to weigh the sins of the deceased. The heavier the clothes, the lower the branches bend, indicating heavier sins. Could it be that the clothing store earlier wasn't selling clothes but rather displaying the clothes of the deceased? After climbing onto the overpass, Tatsuki Ryo then sees 3 cruise ships, but soon after, she realizes that there are not just 3 but many ships, each carrying people from different countries like South Korea, the United States, India, France, and more. Some netizens interpret that these ships are coming to pick up the deceased who have risen in the disaster. Does this indicate that the disaster will be a large-scale global event? But is that truly possible? Taiwanese earthquake expert Guo Kaiwan once told the media that from the perspective of plate tectonics, Taiwan, Hong Kong, and the Philippines cannot possibly join together as one, but it seems to align with the concept of a future supercontinent. However, the formation of a supercontinent would require at least 3 billion years to occur. Nevertheless, Chan Thomas, a geologist once employed by the CIA, had a different perspective. In the year 1963, Chan Thomas wrote a book called The Adam and Eve Story. Later, this book was classified as a banned book by the CIA. The book mentioned that in the event of a geomagnetic reversal on Earth, not only would there be tsunamis as high as mountains but also intense crustal movements, volcanic eruptions, and more. Although experts have explained that geomagnetic reversal is a slow process lasting tens of thousands of years, Thomas claimed that based on his research, the idea of the first reversal occurring within a day is exaggerated. He even predicted that this event could likely happen within the next 7 to 200 years. Based on the publication date of the book in 1963, this timeframe would roughly fall between 1970 and 2163. Aside from geomagnetic reversal, the renowned Japanese UFO contactee Akinori Kimura, known as Miracle Apple Grandpa, due to his lifelong research on pesticide-free apple cultivation, claimed that at the age of 40, he boarded a spaceship of extraterrestrial beings. Inside the spaceship, he saw a stone slab from the year 2025, which recorded that in 2025, a green star would approach Earth, triggering a series of disasters including heavy rains, hurricanes, food shortages, and earthquakes. At that time, Kimura shared this information with his good friend Takano Josen, a monk and a highly renowned UFO expert in Japan. Takano has previously stated on YouTuber Naokimane's show that he believes the green star seen by Kimura aligns with the doomsday prophecy mentioned by the Hopi tribe. The Hopi tribe believes that the current world is the fourth world, with 3 previous world-ending events. The first world was destroyed by fire. The second world froze in ice and snow. The third world sank in a great flood. And we are currently in the late stages of the fourth world. Once 9 signs occur, the fourth world will come to an end. Regarding the Hopi tribe's prophecy, currently, 8 out of the 9 signs have already been fulfilled. The 9th sign is, there will be a dwelling place in the sky, far above the earth, it will come crashing down, causing a massive impact. Appearing as a blue star, once it falls, the entire world will be in turmoil. White people will battle with other nations on foreign lands, with much smoke and flames rising, bringing great death and disease. And all these apocalyptic scenes will occur after the fall of the blue star. For those who are observant, they might notice that the Hopi tribe mentions a blue star, which is different from the green star mentioned by Kimura. However, Takano Josen stated in an interview that many Japanese people might describe blue as green. In the interview, Takano Josen also informed the audience that he had once hosted a Hopi elder who visited Japan for research purposes. During that time, the elder personally confirmed to him that a blue star will indeed approach Earth in 2025. It seems that many of the Hopi elders are already aware of this, not just within the Hopi tribe. In 2022, a Navajo elder came forward to issue a warning, stating that 2025 would be a point of no return for humanity. In addition to the above prophecies, we have also discovered that a Japanese man named Kunio Yasuo has recently gained a lot of attention from Japanese netizens. Because he made many additions for July 5, 2025. First, let's briefly introduce his background. Kunio Yasu is a Japanese physicist, specializing in quantum mechanics, mathematical physics, and neuroscience. His academic background is very strong, but later he became obsessed with researching extraterrestrial beings, religion, and quantum consciousness. On February 7, 2025, a YouTube channel called Toland Vlog uploaded a video of their visit to Kunio Yasu. In the video, he astonishingly stated, based on a secret source, on July 5, 2025, at 4 a.m., an official statement claims that a fragment of a small asteroid will fall, but in reality, it is not a small asteroid that will fall, but a satellite. Next, he delves into conspiracy theories, and we must remind everyone that the following information has not been confirmed. Note that, not confirmed, this channel also does not believe this news because it is too exaggerated. Audiences can treat it as fiction. He points out that this satellite did not fall accidentally. But during Biden's presidency, a secret agreement was made with the Chinese government regarding Taiwan, but this agreement seems to have been cancelled after Trump took office. He also mentioned choosing July 5 because at 4 a.m. on July 5 Taiwan time corresponds to the afternoon of July 4 in the United States, which is the Independence Day of the United States, a very relaxed moment for the country. We must emphasize that this information comes from a source that Kunio Yasu heard from, and there is no way to confirm the accuracy of this information. But what can be confirmed is that the number of views on this video has exceeded 3.5 million. We analyzed the reasons. In addition to the tense situation between the two sides recently, another reason is that people are really worried about what will happen on July 5th. And in Tatsuki Ryo's book, this disaster is likely to be man-made, which is why she refers to 2025 as a great disaster. She cannot even be sure if it is an underwater volcano or a bomb. These factors make people wonder, could this disaster really be man-made? In an interview, Tatsuki Ryo mentioned that many people think she is amazing to predict the time of the 3/11 event. But actually, after finishing the cover illustration, she completely forgot about it, until one day when she was talking to a friend. She was considering whether she should share the precognitive dream messages she knew with everyone. Tatsuki Ryo said, "Many people think that huge disasters will not occur in their lifetime, but the fact is, these disasters are not impossible, it's just a matter of when they will occur." She has been thinking, if she had paid more attention to her precognitive dreams back then, and reminded everyone to be prepared for disasters, could it reduce the casualties of the 3/11 earthquake? This is why she is publishing another book, because she hopes everyone will always be prepared for disasters. At the same time, she also tells everyone in the book, she once dreamed of 2025, and that after July will be a brighter future. This also resonates with the ancient prophecy of the Hopi tribe. The prophecy of the Hopi tribe says, although the fall of the blue star symbolizes the end of the old world, the fifth world will also come, opening a new order and hope. And personally, I believe, the meaning of prophecy has never been to make us live in fear, but to remind us, the unknown is not scary, it is the lack of preparation that is frightening. We cannot decide what will happen in the future, but we can decide how we will face the future. The experience of 3/11 tells us, the future will not follow a script. History has also proven, the survival of humanity does not depend on the accuracy of prophecies, but on whether we are willing to take action. Perhaps something will really happen on July 5, 2025, or maybe not, but if this discussion has already made you think about the future, be prepared. Start taking action, then whether the prophecy comes true or not has become less important. Thank you to all friends who watched the video. See you in the next episode.